So, one time, part time, once upon a time, half time. We can go with all kinds of times. Father time. He was now Father time, Keith Thurman. So this guy goes in and gets dispatched by Manny Pacquiao, man. And I actually picked Keith Thurman for the fight, but as I said in my pre-fight video, I really want Manny Pacquiao to dismantle this dude, man, because of all of the previous things that Keith Thurman has done, man, since for the last few years, man. Keith Thurman, once he got his hands on Floyd Mayweather's belt, he just been going on a rampage, disappearing from boxing, having different little injuries so he can disappear, and it's just been one thing after another with Keith Thurman, man. And I knew that once he became champion, that he wasn't gonna put his all into defending the titles. He wasn't gonna fight the best. I just knew he was gonna find out how he can be a businessman and just go ahead and box in circles. And that's what he intended on doing between himself, Danny Garcia, and Sean Porter. That's what they had lined up. They was just gonna create series amongst each other and box a few bums here and there. Maybe try to build up this guy or that guy, and they was gonna freeze out Errol Spence, and they had already had plans on freezing out Terrence Crawford because Terrence Crawford is already pretty much across the street with Bob Arum anyway. So they wasn't gonna give Terrence Crawford his fair shake. So that's why I just really wanted to see Keith Thurman lose, man. I just didn't want to see him doing anything else. Even though I knew Manny Pacquiao, I knew he was gonna win, and with him winning, there's nothing else left either because Manny Pacquiao was on his way out the door, and the only other fight that's pretty much non-threatening for him right now on his way out, and this would be equivalent to Floyd Mayweather fighting Andre Berto on his way out. So they'll probably give him Danny Garcia or somebody like that. They'll probably throw him Danny Garcia, and let him retire off of that fight, or they'll give him Danny Garcia, and they'll probably line up one other fight for Manny Pacquiao and give him his retirement party, and that'll be pretty much that. But I just think that he's gonna go over to the Philippines, do his thing for his country, and really think about his next move and how long he want to keep doing this stuff. I just think after tonight's fight, even though he looked pretty decent in the fight for the most part, uh, it was a rough fight for him. At 40 years old, man, that's a bit much for a guy at 40 to go in there and sustain. At that age and at that level, to be still doing it at a high level like that is, against a guy 10 years younger than you is kind of bananas, bro. But much props to him, to Manny Pacquiao. But anyway, man, I have Manny Pacquiao winning, I think, 1 through 4 early. And then I had him winning, and maybe I had him winning 1 through 5, and then 1 through 5, and no, yeah, something like that. And then I had Manny Pacquiao winning like 10, 10, 11, and 12. So Manny Pacquiao pretty much controlled the fight. So we don't really need to get into that. He knocked Keith Thurman down in the first round, I believe. And it's just like I said in my pre-fight video, Keith Thurman has sloppy footwork. At times he utilizes it well. He'll get in and get out moving laterally, but then when it goes to him moving backwards, he just can't move well going backwards, because while he's going backwards, he's also trying to move laterally, and he gets tangled up. because the reason why I say he's trying to move laterally is because he's trying to pivot and find an escape out of moving backwards, moving away from the attack. So he wants to try to pivot out, and then turn, but he's just not good at turning. Everybody is they're looking at Floyd and they're like, oh, he's running, he's doing this, he's doing that. But Floyd had so many secrets, so many abilities, man, that were phenomenal. That caused him to be able to be elusive, and you just didn't you don't recognize it until you actually see somebody else getting in there fighting the guy that supposedly was supposed to be a nemesis of this guy, of Floyd Mayweather. And now you see Keith Thurman, who was talking big noise back then. Oh, this is what Floyd got to do to beat Manny, and all he has to do is do this and do that, blah blah blah, blah. And then when a few years down the line, we see him in there, and he looks the exact same as all the rest of Manny Pacquiao's opponents, except for Marquez. And even with Marquez had problems with him, before he finally beat Manny Pacquiao. I would say solidly beat Manny Pacquiao. So, yeah, man, Keith Thurman, he just, his reaction time isn't there anymore. Sharpness isn't there. And what I can truly say about him is that the passion and the drive is no longer there. I think he needs to think about other things outside of boxing. It's time for him to start getting into maybe some commentary, or, doing some type of narration. He has the voice for that type of stuff. So it's time for him to get into something else, man. But Manny Pacquiao went in there and did what he always does. He caught Keith Thurman off balance, mostly moving forward. The speed of his hands is still there. His footwork isn't as fast as it used to be, but his hand speed is there, and that's how he caught Keith Thurman, because Keith was thinking, once I retreat, I'm just gonna give him my body and let the old man run into me. And once he do that, I can either shove him off of me, or I can pivot, out of that situation, turn him around, and then I can do what I want to do. I can touch him up a little bit to the body and to the head and keep him off of me. But he didn't count on the fact that Manny Pacquiao's hand speed was going to be that fast. And by the time he decided that he was going to duck and come up, he walked into a punch, and he got knocked off balance and he got knocked down. So Manny Pacquiao's hand speed is still there, man. It's still there, it's still deceptive, and he's still catching people, with power shots that's knocking them off balance and knocking these guys down, or making these guys stumble. They getting caught with awkward shots. So that's what happened with Keith Thurman, man, with that knockdown. But he got in some good shots on Manny Pacquiao. He had some good rounds, I would say, between maybe 6. He had some good rounds with like 6, 7, 8, tapered off. I would say between late in the 8th and the 9th. 9, 10, 11, and 12. Keith Thurman just wasn't looking that great. He just wasn't. And matter of fact, in the 10th, he got caught, I think, to his solar plex by Manny Pacquiao. And at that point, he gave up the fight, because I had the fight close at that point. I actually had it close. I actually had Keith Thurman up at that point by 1 round. And Manny Pacquiao stole the show when he hit him in the solar plex, and Keith Thurman started, looking like Fred Sanford. He having a heart attack. Here comes the big one. That's what he was looking like. Like, I'm about to give up the ghost. He looked like he was just ready to fall out after that. Much respect to him. He still kept going. But Manny Pacquiao hit him in the solar plex, and from there he took over. He took over 10, 11, and 12. And that was the end of Keith Thurman. That was the end of Keith Thurman. So if you had Keith Thurman up, or you had the fight kind of close, you were in the ballpark. The 115, 112, maybe 115, 113. If you had the scores like that, you were in the ballpark. 111 wouldn't have been so bad, but you would have had to have not, you know, giving Keith Thurman any of the in between rounds, you know, like maybe 6, 7, 8, something like that. You wouldn't have gave him any of those. But anyway, man, I'm out of here. Congratulations to Manny Pacquiao. Man did an awesome job tonight. You know, once again dominating these young guys, making them look like fools for calling them out and getting them in the ring one more time so they can have a payday. Anyway, congratulations, Manny. Enjoy it, bro. Peace.